It is a shame for man to grow old without seeing the beauty and strength of which his body is capable. Socrates. My life is split up between pre-physique and post-physique Ryan. The pre-physique Ryan was depressed, lonely, anxious, unattractive, undisciplined, inconsistent, had no major goals in life, was without purpose, and was basically a lost cause. My life was technically okay. I had good grades. I didn't exactly have a problem finding work, but my soul felt empty. I didn't feel like I was achieving anything. Girls were not attracted to me. Most people didn't really respect me. It wasn't good. In this video, I want to explain why everyone throughout all walks of life should try to build an aesthetic physique, no matter who they are. Obviously, we all have different goals in life, but I assume that at least one of these points, if not all, will resonate with you and perhaps convince you to build an aesthetic physique if you're not already trying to. The number one and most obvious benefit of getting in the gym and building an aesthetic physique, right, getting that V-taper as a man, is attractiveness. I remember when I was younger, around 16 or 17, I think it was when I was 16, I was very nervous around women, like most young men are. But I wanted to get a girlfriend. I knew I wanted to get married at some point. I wanted to get a girlfriend. I wanted to date around. And so one day, I just decided to get over my nervousness and try cold approaching someone in the mall. So what happened was I drove to the local mall. I basically put on an outfit that I thought was casual but nice. And then I walked around like nervous for a good hour, trying to build up the courage to talk to a girl. It was pretty pathetic, to be honest. What ended up happening was I ended up in one store. There was a girl that was working there that I knew I wanted to talk to, but I basically just pretended to shop there for like probably 30 minutes, trying to build up the courage to just go and like talk to her and ask if I could get her number, right? At this point in time, I was unattractive, skinny, not really very charismatic, not confident at all. What do you think happened when I went up to her and I asked her for her number? She gave it to me. When I got out of the store, I texted her, "Hey, this is Ryan." And she never texted me back. Ever. She just gave me her number and then I presume she blocked me. As you can imagine, that's extremely demoralizing for a young man, and I was basically crushed and didn't approach a girl years after. Fast forward to me years later, after I had built the aesthetic physique, right? I'm 20 years old. It's been about 3 years since I've started my lifting journey, right? Since I really decided, okay, I'm going to become more attractive. If this is what it takes, I'm just going to go to the gym every day, become more attractive. Me and my family, I had dated quite a bit after that point, but I never really cold approached a girl, right? But me and my family were on a trip to a small beach town. And on this trip, I decided like, okay, maybe I'll try and cold approach a few girls because I haven't really done it very recently, you know? I do 2 cold approaches on that trip, right? We end up in a surf shop because we like shopping for stuff. So, you know, we're looking around at t-shirts or whatever. My family kind of goes out of the car and I'm like, I'll be right back. I'll be out there soon. I'm going to go buy something. The girl behind the counter is like extremely cute, very, very cute. And I'm like, okay, yeah, she's the girl that I'm going to cold approach. Right. So I pick out some random ass t-shirt that ends up becoming like my favorite t-shirt, by the way. It was just a sick ass design. I go up to her and I check out and I basically say, "Hey, can I be honest?" She's like, "Okay, sure." I'm like, "I just thought you were super pretty and I wanted to say something." And I didn't get her number because she had a boyfriend. But the reaction was a polar opposite from when I had first cold approached a girl. When I had first cold approached a girl, she was like very, what's the word? Nervous, like she wanted to back out of the situation. She didn't like it, like extremely uncomfortable, right? That was my first cold approach. Extremely uncomfortable. It was horrible, right? This one, she seemed extremely receptive, grateful, and open. She was basically immediately like, oh my God, that made my day. Like, that made my shift. My shift was going terribly boring, and you just made my day. Thank you so much. And I was like, oh, do you have a boyfriend? She's like, yes. And I was like, okay, no worries. Just take it as a compliment. She was like, thank you so much. Again, here's your shirt. Have an amazing day. That really emboldened me. So because I had built an aesthetic physique between the time where I first cold approached and I second cold approached, instead of having like a demoralizing reaction, I actually had like a confidence boosting reaction, even though I didn't get the success. It felt like I was treated like a decent human being. You know what I mean? Instead of being like something you want to get away from. The second cold approach of the trip, me and my younger brother were trying to stay consistent in the gym, even during the vacation. So we were in a local YMCA working out. And basically, on one of the leg machines, I see like this extremely attractive girl. It's just like, holy shit, she's extremely pretty. And I'm basically like, oh, fuck it. I'll just cold approach her. Why the hell not, right? The first one went really well, so maybe this one will too. You know, I've got nothing to lose. It's just vacation. So I go up to her. I basically do the same thing. I'm like, excuse me, this is going to come out of nowhere, but I just thought you were super pretty and wanted to let you know. And she was basically like, she was taken aback. She was surprised. But it wasn't a negative reaction, right? You could tell like she was happy that someone had told her that. And she was like, oh, wow, thank you. And I was like, do you have a boyfriend? She's like, no, I don't. So I was like, can I give you my number? And she was like, okay, sure. So we exchanged numbers, and then she texted me afterwards. And we actually had a date that night and continued to date for a little while after. I had to make trips down to the beach town, but it was one of the best relationships that I have ever been in. And I owe it to being able to cold approach her because I had built an aesthetic physique. Now, I'm not really a fan of cold approaches. That's not what this video is about. But whether you're cold approaching, asking out a girl you know, or you're on dating apps, the quality of your relationships will improve if you are attractive and you've built yourself an aesthetic physique. What I don't think a lot of people understand, and what I want to communicate to you as someone who is leveled up with girls, who basically started dating ugly girls and then leveled up until I dated basically like a drop dead gorgeous girl, is the quality of girls improves, the caliber of girls improves, their personality improves as they get more attractive. Okay? Not all of them. Some of them are attractive but have horrible personalities, right? But oftentimes the quality of that person is going to get better if they're more attractive. Especially if they do something like work out or go to the gym or, you know, eat healthy, stuff like that. A lot of times they have either discipline or consistency or self-respect, or perhaps it's just like a hormone thing, like they're healthier, they have better energy levels, something like that. But the quality of girls that you date that are more attractive is going to be better than the lesser attractive ones. And so if you care about your love life and you care about getting along with your partner and you care about like having a girl that you're interested in, then building an aesthetic physique is something that you need to do. Like you need to become attractive and strong. Relationships just are more enjoyable when you are attracted to her and she is attracted to you. Point number 2 on why everyone should build an aesthetic physique is that it teaches you discipline. I think it's a shame for a man to not teach himself discipline through the gym, because that grit, that discipline, that consistency will carry over across all paths in life, all ventures in life. When I come across a person and I ask them maybe like, do you go to the gym? And they say something like, you can sort of go through this thought experiment with me. If you come across a person and they say, no, I don't really go to the gym. You know, I tried it once and I didn't really like it. I tried it one time and like, you know, I wasn't very consistent. It didn't really work for me. I instantly lose a bit of respect for them. And they'll often make like rational kind of excuses. Like, I just didn't have time. It didn't really work for me. Whatever, you know. Those excuses, everyone has them. You know, those special snowflake excuses aren't normally real. And if you are in the gym and you're building an aesthetic physique and you sort of built any level of discipline and consistency, then you know those excuses are not valid. And so while it sounds good to them in their own head, often to other people it just sounds like excuses and they lose respect. And when I come across a person that is in the gym, that has built a strong athletic and aesthetic physique, I instantly have more respect for them because I know exactly how hard that is to build. Your physique, your current physique, sends off a signal. It sends off a message. It tells a story. Do you want that story to be, he made too many excuses? He never quite worked hard enough. He doesn't want the result enough. He's not disciplined enough to get the goal. Or do you want that story to be, he put in the hard work, he worked on himself, he improved himself, he has discipline, right? He's built up discipline and grit and consistency. This guy's a winner. This is a man that achieves something. Here's an actionable step for you. Take off your shirt, go in front of the mirror, and ask yourself, what story does my physique tell, honestly? Sort of like remove all mental bias, right? Sort of employ a little like ego death, right? Like try and get a third person perspective of it. Look at yourself and say, what story does this physique tell? What does this communicate to other people? Because like it or not, we judge other people based on their looks, and it's honestly most oftentimes for good reason. Now, I'm sure it's not easy for everyone to build an aesthetic physique. I was there. I understand, right? I'm not saying necessarily you're a bad person if you don't have an aesthetic physique at this point in time. Okay, I want you to understand that. I'm on your side. But what we want is to ensure that you have built the discipline and the grit, which I assume that you want and I want for you. And we want to communicate that. We want people to see the results of that. We want our hard work to shine through, right? So that's why it's extremely important to build an aesthetic physique. Like it or not, people are going to see sort of your level of discipline and grit based on your physique. Number 3 is that your body is your permanent home. So here's a question for you. Would you rather live in the inner city ghetto where it's dangerous, you can't go out at night, perhaps you get stabbed or shot or something like that, or Dubai? Where would you live? Now, no matter where you move to, no matter what your physical location is, your body is your permanent home, always. Doesn't matter if you live in a mansion, doesn't matter if you live in a shack. Your body is your permanent home. That's where you always live. So no matter where you move, I'm sorry, but you're stuck in your body. Everyone's worried about where they'll live, but never about the body that they'll always live in until they die. Okay? Your quality of life, when put like that, is more affected by your physical body, the body you live in, than the location that you live in. So it's not so much about where you live, it's who you live. Right? Are you tracking me? Do you want to live in a rundown shithole? No. Me either. I don't want to either. This is why it's so important to build an aesthetic physique and build a healthy and athletic physique. Because we're always going to live in these human bodies, and it's honestly a shame to not improve one's body. It shows very low self-respect if you don't want to have more energy, more strength, more capability, less joint pain when you're older, less cardiovascular disease, stuff like that. And this actually leads us to point 4, right? Which is energy and health, because your energy and your health will improve dramatically from the gym. It's not just about attractiveness, which is what most people go in for, right? That's what I go in for. Like, I just want to be more attractive. But the bonus there, an additional benefit, is extremely great energy and health. You'll have better endurance, better mobility and strength, but not just better. Like if you get an aesthetic physique, like a top 10% physique, Jesus, excuse me, you won't just have better, but you'll have like superhuman endurance and strength. Like better than everyone else, basically. Isn't that cool? Don't you want that for yourself? Don't you think you owe it to yourself as like a self-respecting human being? If you don't want that, if you don't like desire that deep within you, to have like incredible endurance and strength, what does that say about yourself? Like maybe you need to look in front of the mirror. Like maybe you need to get in front of the mirror and ask yourself, do I care about myself enough to want what's good for me? Like, why don't I really care about this stuff? What has happened to me? Why don't I want great energy? Why don't I want like good hormone balance? Why don't I want to be attractive? Why don't I want to be stronger and more capable for myself and the people around me? Why? Why don't I want to be more healthy? And of course, there's an increased prevention of chronic diseases like heart disease, diabetes, certain types of cancers. Now, I don't know about all the other stuff, but I assume that you don't want cardiovascular disease, you don't want cancer, you don't want diabetes, right? I assume that. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say, you probably don't want those things. But best of all are the mental health benefits of being in the gym. Everyone underestimates this, okay? There's extreme benefit to taking out your mental energy, almost like your mental points, imagine it's like mana in a video game, right? You know how mana was always used to like kind of cast magic, right? Imagine that mana in this life is like emotion points almost, right? When you have too many emotion points, you've built them up without expending them. That has a negative effect, almost like a poisoning and overdose effect, right? You start to get depressed, you start to get anxious, stuff like that. A lot of people are depressed and anxious. This is a huge industry because so many people's mental health is so extremely bad. What you need is something to channel those emotion points into, and that's the gym. You need to take out your anger on the weight, on the metal, right? You need to sort of put aside your emotion and go to the gym. Forcing yourself to be disciplined is a way of expending emotion points, right? That sort of thing is extremely good for your mental health. And then, of course, seeing your results in the gym will improve your mental health, obviously. Like, if you see results, if you start to notice your physique is getting better, and you're like, oh shit, like, I did this. I improved myself. That's amazing. Of course, you're going to feel happier. You're going to feel better. You're going to feel more confident, right? So all those other health benefits aside, that's probably the biggest one. And point number five, is that you'll get more respect from everyone around you. I talked about this a little bit earlier, but like it or not, whether it's fair or not, people judge others by their appearances, right? As I said, your physique tells a story. A fit, healthy physique will immediately signal more vitality, discipline, and self-respect. It'll basically make you the alpha in this situation, and other people like a little bit lower, kind of like the betas. That's a stupid example, but that's kind of what it is, right? When I was interviewing for a government position, I was basically like trying to get a really high-level job. When I first started working out, I was like very depressed. I didn't really have any purpose. I wasn't motivated at all. Then when I started building an aesthetic physique, I was like, oh shit, this is awesome. Then I tried to carry that discipline and that motivation, that consistency into other areas of life. And so I was shooting for a government position as a computer scientist because I was particularly gifted at computer science, right? So it's kind of a local position. When I interviewed with my boss, I could tell that he liked me more because I was interested in working out. I believe we had a very good conversation about the gym that day, which is like weird, right? Because he's supposed to be interviewing me for a computer science position. But we ended up talking about the gym a little bit because I guess he wanted to know my character. And the fact that I had built an aesthetic physique and I could talk about it, I was interested in the gym and discipline and consistency and motivation and hard work. He liked me more. Now, I know that was a conversation, but the same can be applied for just looks, your first impression, right? If I'm walking down the street and I see someone with a good physique, I'm like, oh shit, he's probably hardworking. Like, he would have to do a lot to disprove that he was hardworking if I had seen him with a good physique. Because I would immediately assume that he's hardworking, right? So what's important here, what's key here, is the halo effect. Basically, that means people will be biased towards your first impression, right? People assume you're more intelligent, kind, and competent if you're good looking, even if that's not true. This gives you an advantage. This means once you build an aesthetic physique, you have to actively disprove those other qualities before people believe it. Once you own the aesthetic physique, more people will automatically like you. If you've never kind of built up an aesthetic physique before, you might think this is kind of crazy. It's like, no, people don't like you based off of how often you go to the gym. They like you because of your personality. I'm telling you as a person that had a really bad physique, a really shit physique, and then leveled up to a fairly good physique. I'm not where I want to be yet, but I have a fairly good physique. The difference is night and day, okay? People will automatically like you as opposed to automatically hating you. Imagine what a curse it is to own a poor physique then, if this is true. You automatically, your first impression is, okay, he's lazy, weak, no self-respect. And then you have to try and actively disprove those qualities for people to like you, as opposed to having people automatically think you're strong, disciplined, kind, intelligent, all those other things, and then having to fuck it up for yourself. Imagine how much of a negative it is to have a physique that undermines you, a physique that throws you under the bus. Do you want that? I assume you don't. And if you agreed with any of the points in this video and you're interested in building an aesthetic physique and you're the kind of person that invests in himself, then you'll benefit a lot from checking out my full paid program, which is the top link in the description, clicking that, reading what it's about. If you got any value from this video, then there's something you can do which is a win-win for both of us, which is to scroll down and click the subscribe button. I win because I get a new subscriber, and you win because anytime I have a new insight, learn something new, or try something new, then I can make a video and directly give you value. So go click the link in the description, click subscribe, and thank you for watching. Bye.